Today is September the 16th, 2017. My name is Tanya Finchum. I'm with Oklahoma State University, and today I am in Oklahoma City to speak with Reverend Cleo McGlory.
Yes.
And this is part of our Spotlight in Oklahoma project featuring the African American community centered around Washington School in Stillwater, Oklahoma. So thank you for meeting with us today.
You're welcome.
Let's start with learning a little bit about you, beginning with when and where you were born.
I was born in Stillwater, Oklahoma, Stillwater Municipal Hospital at the time it was called. May the 27th, 1947.
1947. So, do my math, 70 years old.
Right, I
Okay.
just turned 70 this year.
Well, happy belated birthday then. And were you, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have two brothers, brother living. I have one who died at a very early age, but I have two brothers who are living. And sisters, I believe I have four sisters.
You believe?
I had to count because I have some that deceased. But I believe it's four that still live.
And where are you in the order?
I believe I'm the eighth. I believe.
Close to the baby then.
Yeah.
And you wanted to know the names. What are your brothers' names?
I have one brother named Charles McGlory who lived in Barnesville, Oklahoma, and one brother Eugene McGlory. He's lived in Stillwater. I have a sister who lived in Wichita, Kansas, and one who lived in Houston, Texas.
And what are their names?
One lived in Houston, Texas. My oldest sister, her name is Leona Edwards, and she just recently moved from Hugo, Oklahoma. I haven't lived there for probably 40 years or so. So she's with her daughter in Houston, Texas. And the other one, Dora Staley, who lives in Wichita, Kansas. She would be the next oldest sister. And then I have one, Sonia Gaines, who lives in Keller, Texas, a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas. Then I have one, Faye Brake, who lives in the Maryland area. So I have those four sisters and numerous nephews and nieces and so forth.
So it's scattered around a little.
Yeah, this guy.
And what was the name of your brother who passed?
My name is Paul Lewis, and he passed after 34 months of age, so very early age. Yeah. So that's it.
And were you all born in Stillwater?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay. And talk a little bit about your parents.
My parents, my dad, Lee McGlory, who lived a good ripe age of 93 years of age. He was a hard worker, worked at Bryant Motor Company at the time. I believe there's a drugstore there now on the corner of, I don't know if it's Walgreens or not, but he worked at Bryant Motor Companies for years and years, very hard worker, great provider for his family. I remember some of my fondest memories of him is when he would work a full day at Bryant Motor Company. He would come and mow lawns. And of course, those of us, boys and girls, who was old enough would go out and help him. So this is I wouldn't call it a recreation, but this is one of my responsibilities at growing up, as well as my other brothers and some of my older sisters. I do remember Leona, one who lived in Houston, and Helen Murray. Helen's deceased, but I remember those two specifically helping my dad mow lawns, and my sister Helen. And I don't remember the younger one, Sonia, who lived in Keller, Texas, and Faye. They were probably too young at that time, but most of us, those that were old enough, my brother Eugene, we helped our dad mow lawns after working at the 8-hour job at Bryant Motor Company. And my mom was pretty much a stay home. She worked at some sororities in Stillwater, cook. And she did that for a number of years, and pretty much having 11 kids in our family most of my life, and she didn't have a whole lot of spare time in terms of working outside the home. So, but I, as most children do, and my parents were very, very dear, very hardworking, and I believe my mom passed in 1997, and my dad in 2004, if I'm not mistaken.
And how old were they?
My dad was, I believe, 93, and my mom was 78.
And had they been born and raised in Stillwater?
Not in Stillwater, Meehan, in the Ripley area. I mean, they was not actually in the city of Stillwater themselves, but they're just kind of close to Stillwater.
But the whole family, both sides lived in Payne County
Right.
since birth.
Yeah.
Okay. Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And of the two, which one would discipline you if you got into trouble?
Probably, I never did get in much trouble, but I remember, that's a good question. I don't ever remember, I only remember being disciplined once, maybe twice, maybe most, by my mom. But I don't recall my dad ever disciplined at all. We were pretty respectful to him and did what he asked us to do and so forth. I had one of my sisters who used to tease me more in Wichita, Kansas now. And she was teasing me about somebody being my girlfriend and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, I remember on one occasion I got so mad at her, I stuck her in her hand with a pencil. My mom made me go to bed early. But that's really about the only time I remember my mom, even my mother disciplined. Both of them were. Now my younger brother was a different story. He was a year and a half younger than I. But I assumed I didn't do too much for them to discipline me for, so I really don't. Neither one of them were hard disciplinary. They expected us to do certain things, and for the most part we did. I mean, that's pretty much it.
And where in Stillwater did you live?
Lived on, I believe it's on Jefferson Street. I want to say 1104 South Jefferson, I believe was the address. And basically lived pretty much on that corner. And we lived in different houses, but they're all either across the street from where we live or further back south where we lived, pretty much in that area, 11th and Jefferson. And where our home was, yeah.
Is that close enough to walk to school?
Yeah, it was. And I walked to school with one of my friends who also lived in the area. We go through his dad's cornfield and walk on down to Washington. So yeah, for sure, it was close enough to walk.
What was the name of your best friend?
He's still living, but his name is Philip Jones. He's one of my best friends, and he lives in the Spencer area right now. But we live very close to one another, within a quarter of just 50 yards from one another. And we would a lot of time walk to school together. And I have other friend Gerald Turner, who's now deceased. But yeah, we walked the dusty streets of Stillwater many days to Washington.
Dusty, so they weren't paved?
No, not during my time. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, the boundaries for the community, was that getting close to the west boundary to where the African American community would be?
The west boundary. Yeah, we probably live about on our address. I don't remember anybody else living west, too much farther west of us in terms of going to Washington School. Mostly would be the east of 11th and Jefferson in terms of the boundaries. Not too many people even further north of that area. It's so where I live was pretty much the west boundary of all the individuals I remember going to Washington School.
were you not encouraged is not the right word, but were you able to go outside of that boundaries without getting fussed at by parents or anything?
Yeah, as during my time there, I went to Washington School up until the 8th grade, and beginning my 9th grade year, I attended Stillwater. I guess junior high at the time would have been on corner 8th and Duck maybe. There was for a moment a library, and then I guess I understand the library moved further south. But that's where I went my 9th grade year, and then beginning my 10th grade year, I actually went to Stillwater High School, Cedar High School was called back that day. But yeah, most of my friends during those first 8 years of school were people I lived with, African American students, and but we would have wrestling, different sports that would come down after school. We didn't really have during my day now. Those who went before me had they had sports programs there, the football team, basketball team, and so forth. For example, Kenneth Murray, back when he went to school, they actually had a basketball team there, and so forth. By the time I attended school, we had actually participate with Stillwater Junior High School, time of the football team, and later on basketball, wrestling, whatever. They would come down and we would have practice in part of the school facility, but we didn't actually have any sports team at the school itself. I guess that would have been, I must have started in 1954, just doing the math, and I guess 62 or so would have been probably my last year there.
So when you graduated from high school in 1965.
65. Right,
Okay.
Cedar High School.
Okay.
So,
Well, did you have a favorite teacher?
well, I don't know, all the teachers, probably Miss Thelma Manuel Burns might have been my favorite teacher. She taught science and so forth. Had great teachers there. I don't know if I had Mr. Ward, who was principal, also taught math and social studies as well. So he double there. But they're all great teachers, and we all respected them highly and so forth. So probably Miss Burns maybe might have been my friend.
Or was that your favorite subject as well?
Well, math was my favorite subject. That was taught by the principal. That's probably my favorite subject. I ended up majoring in math in college, as a matter of fact. So.
What was Principal Ward like? What was his personality like?
He was stern. Of course, in that position, I'm sure he felt that he had to be strict and so forth. But at the same time, we knew he was caring for us, that whatever he did in terms of the discipline, that we deserved it, and we know we didn't buck him or thought he was mean and being disrespectful to us. But he was stern. He would take me and one of my good friends, Jerry Turner, with him to this place to get ice cream that would be donated to the school and so forth. He would always let us ride with him and go in and actually carry the ice cream to his car and so forth. But he was someone you could talk to. You didn't fear him at the time point of not wanting to talk to him, being afraid to talk with him and everything. But I highly respected him, and during his later years, I believe just before his retirement, I think he was principal of maybe Westwood. Well, it probably wasn't Westwood. One's on Ballard, I think, now on Ballard Street. He was principal there for a couple of years before he actually retired. I've been away from Stillwater now for a while, so I'm kind of trying to recollect these streets here. But yeah, he was quite a gentleman. He was actually the only principal I knew. They had numerous principals, of course, before him, but I didn't know him. He was the only principal I knew from the time I was there, I think, 10 years.
And how would he discipline? Not necessarily you, but if a student was misbehaving, how would he discipline?
We would get a paddle. We would go to his office, and he'd have a wooden paddle, and he'd generally give us 2-3 licks, probably about the most he would give us. And so that was pretty much it. We didn't have after school detention or before school or anything like that. He was just paddling. I say he was understanding because I remember one occasion, one of my friends and I, we both thought that we were the fastest guy around the school and so forth. So when the bell rang for lunch one time, we both shot out of the classroom door, and see which one who could beat the other to the cafeteria doors. It just so happened we actually went through the doors at the same time, and of course called to knock the door off the hinge and so forth. And boy, we thought surely we were gonna get a beat down from Mr. Ward at the time. But all he did was told us to go find Mr. Shepherd, who was the custodian there, tell him what had happened, and so he put the door back on. So I knew right then and there, I guess he knew that it wasn't intentional. But I thought surely we would get the paddling because of that, but he didn't get the paddling. So he was pretty stern, but yet understanding. Yeah, at the same time.
There must have been something good for lunch that day.
Probably not. We were just
Probably
we both trying to. Yeah, we thought each one of us was the fastest person, was the fastest boy on the school ground. So that's.
And who was?
I don't know. I still think I was, but he might have to. I think he now lives in Muskogee someplace. Yeah, but I had all my memories of Washington School were just fun. I'm sure back in the day when I was actually going through that, I probably thought differently about things that would come up. But after, years to reflect back upon your previous experience, you come to appreciate them a lot more years after that than you did when you're actually going through the experience itself. But I think that my experience at Washington was great because I think they had caring teachers. Of all the teachers, Anna Mae Robertson, Thelma Manley Burns, Ruth Johnson, all the teachers that I can name, I think they really cared for the students and provided them the best education they could. I don't remember, I'm sure they were absent from time to time because of illness or various reasons why teachers are absent. But to this day, I know they had to be absent sometime because all teachers have to be absent from time to time for various reasons. But I don't recall them only being absent from school, even though I know that they surely had to be absent from time to time. They were on their post, on their job. And we probably didn't have the best of this, the best of that, but in terms of teaching the subject matter and caring for the children, because they wouldn't hesitate to talk to parents if a child misbehaved. And the parents and students and teachers worked very close together. It wasn't disconnected at all in terms of the relationship and so forth, so that was always helpful.
Did they live in the community too?
Yes, they lived in the community, right. Miss Johnson, my English teacher, just home is no longer there, but just 5-10 feet from the school, so yeah.
Was there like a house that would house quite a few of the teachers, like the unmarried female teachers?
No such house that I'm aware of. They were all had their individual homes and so forth.
And do you I don't know that a student would even know this, but do you happen to know if any of them were from Stillwater and where they may have gotten their education to be a teacher?
I don't believe that any of them were actually from Stillwater. I say with possible exception of Ruth Johnson, she might have been, if not in Stillwater, just close to there too. But all the others, I'm sure they came from different places to Stillwater to teach. Yeah. So.
And what do you recall about the library in Washington?
Oh, it was, I guess maybe compared to the libraries we have today in terms of volume, I'm sure that probably other libraries had more, perhaps, books and so forth. But my recollection of the librarian, Mrs. Ward, the principal's wife, was a librarian. Valerie Ward, I believe was her name, in 16 years. But she was a good librarian, and you know, we would go there and check out books and so forth. So I have just my recollection of the library that we had a top-notch library. I mean, I don't know what I would compare it to and so forth, but I don't remember us being deficient or anything like that on anything that we needed in terms of classroom research, anything like that. We were able to go there and do.
And did you make visits to the city library?
I didn't personally do it. As a student there, I didn't. I mean, I pretty much only did that as an adult, young adult, after out of school. I had that student really.
Was Washington School air conditioned?
Yes. Sure, we had window units. It wasn't central air or anything, but had window units.
And in the 60s, it could go either way in the
Correct.
60s.
Yeah.
60s. So.
Yeah. And we had one custodian, Jerome Shepard was his name, and he was pretty much on top of everything in terms of fixing things that were broken and keeping the classroom clean and so forth. Yeah. So.
How would they start the day, the school day?
We started back in then in the 60s courses with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we really didn't have a moment of silence or anything like that. But we would start each school day with the Pledge of Allegiance, and until Madam Murray O'Hara came along and was able to convince the government that it wasn't the right thing to do in school. But yeah, that's how we started our school day. And it was, teachers didn't. Most of the parents of the kids had some kind of church connection. I'm sure they were not all members of Mount Zion. We had at that time Methodist Church in town, and Church of God in Christ, and Church of God in Christ still exists close to the park. There's probably across the street from the park, but the Methodist Church no longer exists. But we had those three churches in town back in my day.
That's one of the things we're trying to find out a little bit more is what happened to the Methodist Church. Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. Mr. Ward, the principal, was a member of the Methodist Church, very much involved there. And I'm sure the other individuals, I don't really remember. Their setup is they have bishops that come there on assignment for a while, and then they move into different places. So it's not like a typical Baptist preacher who could be there like our pastor. He's 54 years. You had just a certain number of years to be there before you reassigned. But since I really was not a member there or attended there, I was attended there for various reasons. Maybe later on, maybe after I've gotten older. But I really don't know what happened to that particular church in terms of why it closed down or anything like that.
And where was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was on the corner of, I want to say 10th and Ramsey, on the, would be the southwest corner. I'm trying to think, the 10th, I believe that's Ramsey, the next street. That's the Ramsey, the street that's east of Ramsey.
Hester or West, maybe?
One block east of Ramsey. I'm saying Ramsey because Ramsey may be too far to the west. It may be,
Knobloch's the
It's
only
where-
one I can think of.
Yeah.
Knobloch.
it's, Knobloch, and then the street, okay. very distinctly remember. But anyway, that's what it was.
Was it brick or was it wood?
I believe it's wood, as far as I remember.
So we were talking about the cafeteria a little bit earlier. Do you remember some of the meals that they would have? And if you had a favorite?
No, what I remember most about cafeteria is that glass of milk that we'd have at every meal. And, you know, I can remember that more than that's the first thing that comes to mind. I say that because I guess as kids grow older, they don't drink as much milk, but we had milk every meal. And that's what stands out in my mind every time I think about a lunch. That always comes to my mind, I guess. Typical things the kids now have is, you know, I don't remember anything outstanding or having a favorite by any means.
And it was a glass instead of a carton of milk?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, because they stand out because now, of course, you know, you don't use glass milk, but little round glass jar milk, cups of milk is what we had. And, but, you know, just spaghetti, just a typical day that kids eat, and I don't remember anything outstanding. Probably chicken from every now and then, not certainly every day or anything, but I guess back in that time when you're eating lunch at that age, you don't really think about it too much. Just
No.
making it through the day and getting home, I guess.
And the cooks cooked it there.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Well,
shipped in.
Sure did. Wow. What that was.
Maybe.
But,
Well, you mentioned earlier that you would run through the cornfield to get to
yeah, I
school.
walked through the cornfield. One of my friends' dad had cows and horses and so forth, and he planted cornfield every year. So my friend and I in the same grade, we just another time we walked to school, and another time at noon, we wouldn't necessarily always eat in the cafeteria. We were so close to the school, we'd walk home. You know, we had, I'm sure, at least 30 minutes. So we probably walked home as often as we did actually eat in the cafeteria. So yeah, the standing corn, a lot of time, I just kind of remember that.
So there were kind of farming areas then, like really close to the residential areas?
Not really, it's just this one particular family, the Jones family. He just happened to have a few head of cows and 2 or 3 horses. And actually about it, he was the only one in that area who had that. It really wasn't a farming area at all. All the rest of them was he was surrounded by just typical residential home.
So they had cows in the city limits
Right,
then?
yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if that was legal or not, but I mean, but yeah, he had a few head of cows, milk cows. And his sons would go down, you know, they had the responsibility of milking the cows every morning. And he had hens in his, by the home. So, and then he had pigs out in the country, you know, they would go there and feed them. I guess he was a farmer who lived in the city, basically where he was. But again, he was the only one. It wasn't anybody, you know, certainly was not a farming community or place that you see farm. He was the only one who.
Well, did you have livestock like chickens at your place?
Nah.
No.
My dad and my mom were fond of planting gardens, especially my dad. He planted potatoes and cooking potatoes, sweet potatoes, greens, things like that. But that's about the closest.
Well, with that many children in the home, did your mother sew for your clothes, or how did that work?
No, she did sew, but wasn't. My dad pretty much. Again, my mom worked for a number of years until she basically just let it go. But it was just whatever we could. Pretty much what my dad would provide in terms of his work.
Hand-me-downs were common.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Do you remember a store where you might have gone to get clothes?
No, it was. I'm not aware of any stores. you know, they had a number of stores uptown. Cats, I don't know if Cats still exist or not. Department stores, J.C. Penney, things like that. But wherever my parents got the clothes, you know, once they got too small for older children, you know, pass down. But before that, I remember it's just pretty much income my dad provided from his regular job and lawnmower and so forth.
I have to ask about laundry day. How would she do that with that? Does it have to be a lot of laundry?
Yeah. We used to have the old time, the wash machine, the wringer. You know, you wash your clothes and you wring them dry and so forth like that. And scrub board and things like that. And for us, it was only in later years, later meaning like when I was sophomore, junior in school, all the kids already left the home where we had indoor plumbing. You know, we had the outside toilet and a number 2 tub where we fill it in with the hot water, boil it on the stove, and make your water hot that way. And sometime one child gets out, the other child gets in, using the same bath water. But the kids, you know, we didn't know any difference. Not, so it's all like I say later, during my high school year where we got indoor plumbing and so forth.
So I hadn't actually heard someone talk about this yet, so I'm really glad you brought that up. So there was an outhouse.
Yeah.
And so most people in the community would have an outhouse, I'm assuming.
Right, and outdoors clothesline, you hang your clothes out
Sure.
on the clothesline and so forth.
And where was that tub? Would it be outside?
No, it'd be inside
or-
one of the rooms, inside the room.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And yeah, and needless to say, we were happy to get the tub later on and things like that. It was a long time before we even have a television. And just one year during Christmas time, my parents gave us a choice. We could either get individual Christmas gifts, or we could forego then to get Christmas gifts and all, just get a television that Christmas. And needless to say, we chose to get the television and forgo the individual gifts. So that was, and I forget that, I guess I was 12 or 13, probably something like that maybe. But
Do you remember the first show you watched?
no, I was just so happy to get. I don't remember the first one I watched anything, but and there was the other people in the community who had TV before we did, and we'd go down to one of my friend's house to look at his TV. The Bennett's, for example, our friend's grandmother, Gerald Turner's grandmother, and then some others had TVs, but we eventually did get around to get one. And my oldest sibling, of course, they didn't have that experience because they'd already graduated. I mean, they'd already left the home, so.
Did any of them have to go serve in the war in the military?
No, they didn't. I mean, my older brother was in the National Guard for a period of time, but I remember he never did go active duty or anything like that. But he did serve in the Oklahoma National Guard for a period of a year. Yeah.
Venture down Main Street very often?
So I say,
Did you venture down Main Street very often or up Main Street very often?
Yeah, because there was 2 theaters in town, the Aggie Theater and the Leachman Theater. And we would sometimes go there. And some of the department stores, I guess, Cats and whatever else was available, you know, we'd go there. Mainly probably just those 2 theaters. Particularly probably the Aggie more than Leachman.
Where would your mother get the milk at for her home, for the household use? A dairy or something?
No, there was, as far as my recollection, there was a store name, it used to be WW Food Market. There was only 2 blocks, then going through an alley. The next block, I guess it's almost like 3 blocks from the home. And my earliest recollection, we would, buy things there. And they had Safeway at that time that was still in operation, so we got there. But a lot of the smaller things we get at this WW Food Market.
And was that a market owned by an African-American family?
No, there were two brothers who owned it, and one of them served as a butcher, and then the other one served up front, the cashier up front. And I'm sure they're both deceased at this time, but it's later on turned into a church. As a matter of fact, one of the local pastors used it for a church outfit closed down at the grocery store.
Were there any particular families in that neighborhood that I guess were very entrepreneurial, ones that had kind of really successful or well-known businesses?
There was a fellow who was Imogene Murray, who's not deceased, but he was pretty good. He had a body shop at one time, did good body shop work, and then he had a little barbecue place on the side. So when you use that terminology, he comes to mind more than anybody that Kenneth Murray cut hair. I mean, he did so most of his time out at the college, out the university, in the student union. But for an entrepreneur, Gene Murray probably would be. Of course, he's the brother of Kenneth Murray, the brothers. But he comes to mind as someone that took his shop to, did good work, and had a little barbecue place on the side where you could do that. He was pretty much the only one that I
Business
remember.
owners.
Yeah.
And what about some of the men in the community? Who were some of the older men that you looked up to and thought of as a community leader? I know that a lot of people say Principal Ward, and were there other men in the community that people all looked up to? Or women, of course.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I don't remember. Probably other individuals would probably be actually the school teachers who taught at the school. Maybe Mr. Ruth Johnson, I mentioned, who lived very close to the school. But a lot of the gentlemen that I can come to my mind were members of the church, Mount Zion Baptist Church. And of course, we respected highly. Chester Hicks, for example, a long-time deacon, close friend of my dad. They were probably those individuals that would come to my mind were probably connected to Mount Zion just in the church family. But outside the church family, Mr. Ward would be probably who I would name. If people wanted maybe try to get something done or some kind of special event, they might maybe go to him. He's about the only one. Maybe Thomas Watkins. Thomas Watkins was
The
coach. And again, I never did. He was before my time. I was familiar with him, and maybe when I went to in my early third grade, fourth grade, the earliest elementary school year, the high school was still in existence, but it's on the west side of the school. If you think of the gym and the library kind of being the center point, the high school was on the west side of the school, and then you have the grades 1 through 8 on the east side of the library. And I remember those classes being over there, and those students and teachers teaching over there and everything. But by the time I got a little older, they had, I guess 56, they had already closed down. So see, in 1954, if I started in 54, maybe by the time I got to third, fourth grade, that school already closed down. But I do remember school being held over there and teachers teaching, shop classes and band and things like that. And going over there for various reasons, as an elementary kid maybe wouldn't wander over there. So I remember classes being conducted, but by the time I got old enough to ready to assess anything, the school had already closed down at that point in high school.
What was the space being used for at that point?
Oh, at one time it was used for years later, not immediately after, but years later they had daycare over there. Lady by the name was Thompson, Juanita Thompson, and her sister operated a daycare program in some of the rooms over there. Head Start over there for a while, so they had like that.
So you were there 1 through 8. Were you involved with any student organizations or sports at that point?
Now again, at that time, I don't remember student council or anything like that. I didn't really get involved in those type of activities actually until the 9th grade when I went actually to the Stillwater Junior High School with 8th and Duck, I guess, whatever. But as far as clubs and organizations, I mean, they had them early on during the high school period, that's a year back for sure. But that was their experience, really wasn't my experience at the time I went there. We didn't have that.
Or did they have Christmas programs and that sort of
Yeah,
thing?
we had what we call operettas later in the year, in the spring of the year, where we would, in the afternoon classes, stop maybe an hour and a half or so short of class time and go and practice on the operetta. They always stand out in my mind. And I wonder back now, upon reflection, wow, we missed a lot of school. 'Cause I know we had to practice. It seemed like now at least a month and a half. And when you figure that, that's a lot of time. But I guess that's what it was. But,
Could you carry a tune?
well, it was basically plays, things like that. You know, it wasn't so much singing or anything, but some singing in it. But it's much little parts you play. And then we'd have the program at night where the parents could come and see. But all that practice was devoted to probably just 1 or 2 performances. It wasn't a lot of performances after. It was just like 1 or 2 nights, and the parents would come and see.
And where would that be held? In the gym?
In the auditorium.
In the auditorium.
Yeah.
Was there a stage?
Yeah.
There's a stage in there. What was that like then? So at the time you were going to that elementary school in Washington, it was all black students.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like, the transition from going to school with all black students to going to an integrated school? Did anything stand out to you, or what was it like?
No, I just, in terms of relationship with the fellow students, classmates, I participated in sports a lot, so I got involved that way with the students and so made friends with classmates and so forth, so really, that was a pretty easy transition. And in terms of the schoolwork, I really didn't know. I mean, I thought our teachers that I had in grades 1 through 8 were just as good the teachers that I was now having. So I didn't see any drop off or anything like that in terms of the quality of education. And maybe if I had not participated in sports, I might would have felt a little different in terms of the relationship with students. But I made friends in the sports arena, and it transferred into the classroom and so forth. So it wasn't anything unusual or anything like that. And continued on through grades 10 through 12. So.
Did your siblings have any issues with the switchover?
No, not that I recall any of them sharing with me. I'm sure probably they might have. I know there's a problem. Our pastor, J.B. Jr., who I believe graduated 56 in the last year of the high school, last graduating class. He oftentimes shared with the experience that he had. He used to have cafe at Stillwater called Ski Cafeteria that would not serve African Americans. And it was not my experience, but he had experience of protesting along with some of his classmates on that situation. So I know it did exist. And on one occasion, I remember with mowing lawns, I mentioned before, we mowed lawns with my dad after he got off of work. And my younger brother, needed to use the restroom at the place lawn that we were mowing. And the owner didn't want him to use restrooms. You know, you look back on it, I mean, maybe that wasn't that big of a deal. I guess it would be something different for a person strange, even though he's mowing your lawn, want to use your restroom. I mean, that wouldn't be hard to figure out why the person would say no, but I remember that experience with that. But it may, and that might be for different reasons other than just racial bias and like that. Maybe.
So you would mow all over Stillwater at various,
Yeah, pretty much so. We, south, east, west, we would mow all over the place.
so did you have a part-time job during the summertime other than helping your dad?
No,
No?
just no. I really didn't. I really didn't have my dad prevented me from really getting a part-time job in terms of that. I knew that I had to do that to help out the family. So you know that. And I pretty much took it in stride. I mean, every once in a while, I guess I would kind of feel sorry for myself and my friends down at the park playing ball or whatever. I'm out here mowing these lawns. But pretty much overall, though, I took it in stride because I knew that was necessary. So I really didn't make a big deal out of it.
Well, when you did get to have fun, what would you do?
Oh, go down to the park and play touch football, things like that, you know. And then, of course, and during the time of school sports, of course, I was practicing there, football and track and things like that.
And what grade were you in when you got interested in wrestling?
On a serious matter, probably ninth grade. I dabbled in it, maybe intramural wise, a little earlier than that, but on a serious note, probably ninth grade.
So you say before getting into it via school, there were, like through a Parks and Rec program, where would you like go to get coached or what have you before school?
No, the time I'm referring to really is summertime when school was not in session, and the kids out in the park playing ball, doing whatever they want to do out in the park. And a lot of time, you know, my brother and I were out helping my dad on lawns. And then during the school year, of course, it was school athletics that was in progress, and we were allowed to participate there. You know, it wasn't that. And I guess maybe if we had gotten out early enough to still daylight, we might would have helped them after we got out of school practice. But pretty much school athletics took up the time during the school year. But during the summertime, when, you know, May, June, July, August, so forth, and all I'm saying is that we were helping my dad full time from morning till whatever time it was. So some few occasions, you know, that we think about how good it would be maybe to be out in the park instead of morning lawns. But that was mostly in the summer. But no, I didn't really participate in that much intramural in terms of sports. It's mainly through, I did some summer baseball a couple of years, but that was pretty much it. Most of it was just school athletics.
And were they integrated teams for baseball?
Yeah.
And what would your parents do for entertainment?
They were pretty much involved in church, both of them. Very actively involved in church. So it's
Play cards with the neighbors or something?
really, I don't really remember my parents playing cards. They may have, but I don't remember. They, my dad's work took up all his time, and my mother just keeping the home took up all her time. But they really didn't have a lot of.
Didn't go to dances or that sort of thing?
If they did, way before I was born.
Did you attend the prom for the Stillwater High School?
Yeah, I think I did.
Do you remember who your date was?
I'm trying to remember. I I really didn't intermix that much socially. I mean, I know about proms and all that, but if I did, it wasn't to the extent that I remember fondly about it or anything like that. I'm sure I might have gone just to see who was there or something like that maybe. But I don't remember a particular prom date. And a lot, and that probably was true about a lot of my black friends. I mean, when prom time came, probably most of them didn't go, for whatever reason, you know. Not that we couldn't do it, it's just something we chose not to do, I guess, whatever reason.
And I read somewhere where you were the state champ in your senior year in high school.
Yeah, I was.
Wrestling.
And I was state champion also my freshman year. And it's kind of odd because during my freshman year, I had quit wrestling for a while. I wanted to become a basketball player all of a sudden. I saw those guys dribbling the ball, I thought I could do it as well. And I quit the wrestling team for about 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. And only to find out that maybe basketball wasn't my sport. So I asked the coach to rejoin the team. He allowed me to, and then ended up being state champion that year. So, and then was fortunate enough to be champion again my senior year. Well, so yeah.
And matches would be all over the state?
Yeah, they would be. We had certain conference teams that were Blackwell, Parker City, mainly things like a place like that. We didn't read Oklahoma City's team or anything like that, except maybe for a special tournament. But it was pretty much that area team like Parker City.
Well, would you experience any trouble traveling for that sort of?
No, not that I recall. I mean, they athletics have a way of bringing students together, you know, just because of the sport itself. You know, you really don't think about that too much. You may have spectators or parents maybe to do something more than the athlete themselves. You know?
That's what I was thinking.
But I don't recall any kind of incident I had with a fellow athlete or anything like that.
So you graduated and it comes time for college.
Mm-hmm.
How did you choose where you were going to go?
Well, I had basically two choices of mine. I had Arizona State, a full scholarship offer there. And then Oklahoma State, Myron Roderick was the coach then at Oklahoma State. I think he was there 14 years, had 7 national championships, team championship. And they were going to give me what called a half scholarship on my first semester and give me a full scholarship my second semester. And being a local person, I guess the idea was I could stay at home during the first semester and then full ride the second semester. And then OU, Tommy Evans was the coach then, had an offer there as well. I didn't want to, I was kind of a homeboy really, and I didn't want to go 1,200 miles, what it was, to Arizona, even though I had family members there in Phoenix. And I could have stayed in Stillwater, but it almost seemed like another 4 years of high school. I haven't been there all my life and then continued there in college. I really didn't want to do that. I wasn't so much bothered by the half scholarship offer that much was staying in Stillwater just another 4 years. And OU seemed to fit right in my plan, you know, 70 miles away, 75 miles away it was. It allowed me an opportunity to not be in Stillwater another 4 years, but yet also close enough where I could go home when I was. And true enough, during my freshman year, I burned up the highway a lot of times. Probably in Stillwater as much as I was in Norman. But so that's kind of the reason behind that. It wasn't so much the competition between the schools. OU, I mean, OSU had a great wrestling tradition back then and even before then, of course. And I admired a lot of their wrestlers, Joe James, and a lot of their great athletes they had at the time. But OU allowed me a chance to get out of the city, and all at the same time be able to come back to home whenever I need to without being too homesick. That's kind of
And you did quite well there, from what I can gather.
Yeah, fairly well. I could have done a lot better, I believe. Again, in retrospect, looking back, but I wasn't totally pleased, but I guess it could have been worse, could have been better, so one of those kind of situations. But it provided me the opportunity to go to school and not have the burden of, my parents certainly was not in position to fund my education. And I suppose I could have borrowed the money, so forth like that, got a student loan. But the amazing thing about scholarship, of course, it gives you the opportunity to get a free education, and that was what I certainly appreciate most about that.
Were you the first in the family to go to college?
No, my sister Leona and Helen, particularly Leona, who now lives in Houston, she went and graduated and worked for OOHRP for a number of years. So she was the first one to graduate.
Where did she go?
She worked a number of years, 20 years or so, for the OOHRP program system. And
Where did she graduate from?
OSU.
OSU?
Yeah, OSU. And then she married a school teacher, and they made their home in Houston, getting for probably more than 40 years, I'm sure. And they just recently moved down to Houston. They made their home in Hugo, if I may have misspoken. But and they just recently moved to Houston. So she's the first. And my sister Helen, she also got a degree, I believe a social degree from OSU as well. And she worked for the university for over 40 years before she retired. So I guess I may have been the third one then, maybe.
First male.
Yeah, first
Very
male.
first male.
Correct.
And what was your major?
Educational administration. Well, it's math. Math education. So I taught that for a number of years, and later on got my master's degree in educational administration. And was assistant principal in Stillwater Junior High School. Later went to Ballsville. Was there for 3 years, principal in Ballsville Mid-High. Then moved back to Oklahoma City and worked in the school system. I have altogether about 34 years in the educational field.
And what are you doing these days?
These days, I'm a full-time staff member here at the church. I say full-time as I'm a staff member here at Fairview Baptist Church. I'm the evangelism pastor. And then I do substitute teaching work in the Edmond Public School System, where we live. Primarily the 3 high schools there in Edmond. So that takes up my time.
You're not retired.
Yeah, no, not fully retired. Maybe one of these days I will do that. But I still, the substitute business, of course, give you the opportunity to not have to work every single day if you want to. So it is different from the regular.
And the school has changed quite a bit since the 60s, since you were in high school.
Yeah, it has. In some ways it has, in some ways it's very much the same.
Do you end up marrying a Stillwater girl?
Yeah, I did. She is now deceased, and
what was her name?
Christine Herndon.
Herndon?
Yeah, right. They moved to Stillwater, I think when I was like in the elementary school, 3rd grade maybe. And so we were married about 33 years, and she died in 2000. And I had my present wife, my lovely wife, Paula McGlory. We've been married since 2006 rather, past 11 years. So.
And not a Stillwater girl.
No, she's from Lawton. She graduated from Lawton Eisenhower, and one of the top students in a graduating class. I think she's, I don't want to get this, I think she's had 596 students, I believe.
Wow. Pretty good.
I know it's high. I may be off a little bit, but I think in a graduating class, so she has pretty large grade. And if I get her particular number, but she did very well in school in terms of academics. And so we have 2 daughters now, and one of them is teaching at John Marshall High School here in Oklahoma City. She's also the basketball coach, girls basketball coach. And then we have an older daughter who's just turned 40. And I have a son, physical therapist, who lives in Tulsa. And numerous grandchildren. One, I think you saw a moment ago, 6-year-old. She says she's going to be a doctor now. I believe that she has the smarts and will have the determination to one day do that.
Sure.
She's already said she's going to work at OU, so we'll see. OU.
Did you marry in Stillwater?
Yes, I married at the Mount Zion Baptist Church, Pastor Will Dallas, who recently passed. He married us. So
I haven't been able to find someone yet who was married in Stillwater at one of the churches.
Oh, okay.
So what did that kind of look like? What would a wedding at that time kind of include or involve?
oh, it's, parents were there. It wasn't a big audience, anything like that. It's, my best man was one of my best friends in college. He's from Star Spencer, Santor, DeVos. His team, I met him for the first time. Star Spencer high school team, played our high school team our senior year. And he was a great running back, and we ended up both going to OU. And so anyway, we became pretty good friends. We'd oftentimes talk about that particular game and so forth. But he was my best man, and but it was fairly small wedding. You had just family members there, and one of her uncles gave her away and so forth. But that's pretty much it. It didn't last very long. It was just a
Suit and tie.
yeah, probably
Suit and tie.
probably so. Yeah.
So who won the football game with your best? With your
Well,
best
they
friend?
did. They trounced us pretty good, and
Just
he
curious.
ran all kind of yards. He was made all state that year and so forth. He was real good. He hurt his knee in college, so really never did do that well in college after his freshman year. But yeah, they won the game that year.
Did you ever get back to Stillwater?
Yeah, I do. I have nephews there, niece there, so I get back from time to time.
Were your parents buried there
Yes, they're both buried there.
at Fairlawn or at the other
Sunset.
Sunset?
Sunset. Well, one on the highway on Perkins Road.
Yeah, Sunset.
Sunset.
If you don't mind me going back, you'd said your dad was born in 1910. Is that right?
Right, I believe that's correct.
And he was born in Payne County then.
Right.
So what?
Meehan, Ripley, so yeah, somewhere in there.
So what about your grandparents? Do you have any idea how long they had been there? I'm very interested to see if we can find anyone who was associated
I hate
with the
to
land
say,
run or.
Yeah. I hate to say I have no recollection of my grandmother. I guess I was very small, or even if I was born when she passed. I have more recollection of my granddad, my dad, Pete McGlory. He came at a certain point in time to live with us, with my dad. So I remember the little house behind our house where he lived and so forth. But I really don't have a lot of recollection about them. I really don't. I hate to say that, but that's pretty much it.
And on your mother's side, that set of grandparents?
Yeah, I don't know. my mother, dad at all. I don't. Some of our siblings, Joe Wilson, and live in St. Louis, Missouri. I cost mom and him, and he would come to visit us from time to time. My mother's brother, and then she had a sister who lived near in Beggs, Oklahoma. And my dad's siblings, I knew them, the Vicks, Calvin Vick and Melvin Vick. They both lived in Stillwater, and so I knew them. But on my mother's side, I really don't know it. Again, I don't think I was even born when they passed away. I don't think.
And she was a cook. You said your mother was a
Yeah.
cook. So what was your favorite thing she fixed for you?
I would probably banana pudding, really. I mean, that she would get that cooked at home.
Banana pudding?
Yeah, just a simple, common banana pudding. When I was a little kid, we'd all wait around till she finished with making the banana pudding. We would all vie for the banana pudding pan. And always who asked for it first. And so, and then she different cobbler. She was a great cook. She could cook anything. She'd make blackberry cobblers, peach cobblers. She's a real cook. And then I probably won't remember the sorority, but Kappa, Gamma, Psi sorority or something. She cooked that for a number of years. And she cleaned homes. And I would often go with her on Saturday morning while she just sit around while she cleaned the home. Walk with her there and then walk with her back. And then sometimes go to sorority, just kind of as a kid, just I wouldn't be doing that work myself. And it used to be Cliffs Drive in town on Main Street, south part of Main Street. And I think the building maybe still be there. I don't know the drive in, of course. And she worked there for a number of years. And I would sometimes go there and just wait around. I wouldn't. But that's pretty much it.
Did you have a bicycle?
Did I have a bicycle?
Did you have a bicycle?
Yeah, I did. Had a scooter, the kids have. You don't see them very much anymore, but scooter, bicycle. Yeah, like most kids around in that area, had bicycles. How we got around.
Do you remember the 56 and the 59 floods?
Yeah, I do. We got flooded a couple of times, but we had to all go down pretty much to the fairgrounds, get commodity food, cheese and Spam and things like that. Yeah, we a number of floods we experienced, and yeah, at least two come to recollection. That we had.
So would they have like sleeping accommodations out there as
they
well?
have little tents, and you go in there and sleep there, and get fed and commodity food and so forth, commodity eggs and the Spam and the whole works, chicken block cheese and things like that.
Was it mostly that particular neighborhood affected by the flood, or was it like throughout the city?
It seemed to be mainly around the area where I live, from 11th Street going south, I guess, and then from Jefferson Street going a little bit further east, maybe a couple blocks. And most back then, most of the African American community live, we don't, not like it is now where they live in probably all parts of town right now. But pretty much we're all located in 4 or 5 block square area of one another.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the flooding pretty much took place. So it wasn't a citywide flood, anything like that. It's just kind of in the area where we live.
Mrs. Bailey, sometimes recalls that some kids would call themselves Highlanders and some were Lowlanders. Do you recall that at all?
Now her house where she lived, I don't know if she still lives there now, they kind of sit on hill type. So they may not have been affected, her parents and so forth, their home was built kind of high.
Yeah, she said
Yeah.
that. But for some
So-
reason, they were called Lowlanders even though she was high.
Yeah, yeah. And I haven't heard that terminology, but I was certainly lived in a lowlander area then of town, where my home was. And I can see why the terminology would come, but their home was higher than ours, for sure. Yeah, that area.
So would the school just be like wiped out or? What did you do as a community about the school?
Oh, it was just flood. You wait till the water recede and then just mop and clean up the best you could. It was never so much destroying all the furniture. It's just a matter of drying out basically, and moving back in and continuing what you're doing. So, it's those fond memories. Well, I say fond memories, fond memories, whatever memories.
They're memories.
Right. But,
So the community itself didn't have a name? Is that what you're saying too? That you didn't refer to the community as like a certain part of town or?
well,
Do you recall?
later on, high school. Well, I guess my high school days. And I don't know where the name came from, but I don't know if it's college people, African American college people who going to OSU at the time. But they usually referred to the area around where Miss Bailey lived as the Ville. I really don't know where the name came from, but when you use that terminology, you knew that you were talking about pretty much African American community, people who lived in that area.
A Ville?
The Ville.
The Ville.
Going to the Ville, whether they knew that you were talking about going to the African American community.
So that would have been 70s, 60s?
In 60s.
60s.
Yeah. Probably like when I was in high school, whatever, so forth. That terminology came pretty prominent. And I'm assuming that some of the African American students who went to OSU then kind of gave us that name. I don't know for sure, but that'd be my guess.
Well, in the 60s, there were some major historical events happening, like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X.
Right.
Around in your senior year. Do any of those events, do you have any special memories about reactions or?
Not so much of Malcolm X, but certainly Martin Luther King. Death and the things that happened in his life and his work and so forth that he did for mankind, actually more than just African American. Sam Cooke, popular singer, of course. It's just certainly times that events that happen that you regret that happened. And but we're living. There's never been a time in our history, and including even now, of course, where you don't have people who have racial hatred of another race and so forth. And it was so then. It's of course, as you can probably will agree, maybe it has certainly resurfaced even now, where you're still having those kind of problems. But James Brown, I'm Black and I'm Proud. We have people like that who really stood up. Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte and so forth were very instrumental in for the African American cause. But,
There was a Stillwater historian, Clarence Bassler, and we have his scrapbooks. Scrapbooks in terms of he used to cut out all of the Stillwater history type articles and paste them into his scrapbooks. So as we've been working on this project, we've been going through trying to find articles on the African American community. And there's literally nothing in the 40s, 50s, part of the 60s. And then all of a sudden, like every few pages, we'll get an article showing up. So there was a huge change in at least the media. Is there one thing that stands out to you as potentially happening in Stillwater that really made a difference for African Americans' rights or change or anything like that?
No, only thing I can say, maybe some of the teachers, African American teachers, coming aboard and coming to Stillwater. I'm trying to remember the Dr. Earl
Mitchell?
Mitchell. OSU, I remember being very proud, you know, that he was a staff member at OSU, Howard Ship, the counseling area at OSU, those individuals making a difference coming down. Of course, Earl, Dr. Mitchell attended Mount Zion for a number of years. That's really the thing that kind of come to my mind in terms of that, in terms of politics make a difference. Just being proud that you had some representation at the college, those individuals, and Joe James, heavyweight champion at OSU, during his senior year, being proud of that. But individuals like that was kind of come to my mind in terms of being able really to look up to those individuals with respect and so forth, and maybe aspiring to, well, if he can do it, and then maybe I can do it as well. So,
You usually ask the question. It's a good time for what you ask about President Obama.
Oh, that's right. What did you think? What were your feelings when President Obama was elected?
I was very proud, needless to say. I really was surprised it happened so early in my lifetime. I could certainly see it coming to pass, but no one would envision, I don't think, coming to pass this soon. And it says a lot about America, that America will accept a person for who he is and what he has done to a certain degree. That there's still a lot of racial bias around us. I don't think we need to fool ourselves thinking that had to simply evaporate. But on the other hand, to think that a person who can be a senator one day and then be president of the United States in a very short order thereafter, I mean, that's he's made it possible for any of our African American young students who are in school now at whatever level, to know that they can be. We've had a president of the United States, the highest position, arguably in the world in terms of political position, that this is something they can do as well. And so I was really proud of him doing that. And I think he did well, 8 years. That's a lot of his accomplishments would be touted in terms of what he was able to do during the time he was there. And no one's perfect, he made mistakes just like anybody else. But so that was a very, very proud event in my life. And the impact that he still is making now and will continue to make after he's left the office. I think we haven't heard the last of him. I think he's gonna still do a lot of great things. Not only for African American, but for the United States and the world. And I'm trying to think of her name, the lady, senator from California. who's been on the news lately, y'all probably don't know.
Maxine.
Maxine
No.
Waters. Now, it's another lady that I'm
She's
thinking.
feisty.
Yeah, she's real feisty.
Oh, I can't think of her
I can
name.
envision her being a president one day. She's really,
And the first female.
yeah, first female president. But,
She's tough.
yeah, she is.
We've covered a lot. Is there anything that you want to add that we haven't thought to ask?
I don't think it's all. I just appreciate the work that y'all are doing and trying to. I know it's a difficult job because we go through the experiences sometime, and a lot of times we don't record things. We don't write things down. We're not realizing that someone may ask about them years and years later. So I regret that we, as a race of people, didn't have better record keeping skills or been mindful to do that in our past. But I hope that by talking to a number of individuals that you already have, that you will be able to get some accurate information in terms of what our history has been in the community and in our schools. I'm just happy that this is being done. I really can't think of anything that hasn't been asked that probably need to be asked. But
Well, then my last question is, unless you have any, is when history is written about you, what would you like for it to say? How do you want to be remembered?
I want to. I would want to be remembered as a person who cared about the quality of life with every individual, the quality of life beyond this physical life. This physical life is going to cease for all of us in a period of time. I have been spending my time since early on, really. It hadn't started lately, in terms of my spiritual work. I mentioned earlier that I'm the evangelist pastor here at Fairview. I probably take more pride in that more than any other thing that I've been able to do in life, in terms of schooling, my career as principal and math teacher, athlete, so forth. And I'm trying to spend my last years on earth in terms of meeting individuals and asking them if they have a personal relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. And if they don't, doing what I can as an individual member of the kingdom of God and trying to get that type of relationship established with those individuals. I really don't know if that's the type of answer you want to hear, but
It's your story.
That's
It's
what-
whatever you want.
Exactly.
that's really what my main primary goal is at this point in life. I do appreciate all the experiences that the Lord has allowed me to have. I was able to go to overseas. Happened to be at the end of my high school year. It just so happened that back in that day we had an exchange program where Japan would come here
Oh, yeah.
for 4 years, then the American team would go there. And it just so happened in '65 when I graduated, it was time for the American team to go to Japan. And so I was fortunate enough to make the American team and go there. So even putting that in the basket and all other experiences that I've had, I appreciate them all. But my remaining days of years that I have is, my determination is to work in the spiritual field, to magnify my office as the evangelist pastor and do what I can in that area there.
Well, then I have to ask one more.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite song for your church song?
Uh,
Favorite hymn?
Favorite hymn.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Jesus Keep Me Near the Cross, come to mind. Is one of my favorite hymns. That's, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Nope. If no one else has any questions, we'll say thank you very much for speaking with us today. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.